So today I was going to talk about the anti-flipping.
Yes.
Okay. So people may have heard about this, the new piece of legislation that came out effective January 1, 2023, anti-flipping. So what it means is if, starting January 1, if property is bought and sold within 365 days, it is automatically considered a, quote unquote, flipped property. And the profit will be fully taxed as business income. Okay. So what I think is interesting about this is that this was always the way, except for the 365-day piece. It was always the way that if it was your ordinary course of business, if you were someone that flipped properties, I mean, we've all had clients that have flipped properties, their profit was business income. It wasn't capital gains, it was business income. Capital gains is payable when it's, a cottage property or an investment property you've held for a long period of time. But the flipping was always, profit was always taxed at 100%. So it's just, so what's interesting about this is what has flipped, the script has been flipped. The onus is now off, or the burden is now off the CRA to prove what is, a capital property and what is maybe a capital gains property. The burden's off them now. So it's just automatically flip property.
Flip property. Yeah. So you bought a condo in 2020. In the fall of 2020,
like a new build,
new build condominium, right? It's finally you've got occupancy probably in the fall of November 2022, and you close February 2023, and you decide, well, you know what? That was a long time ago. My life changed. I got married, had a kid, whatever, and I want to sell. I want to sell that condo because my life has completely changed.
Yeah, which happens. We've always seen this happen. So the clock for that person would have reset on January 1, or it was actually when they purchased the property. So your example, they closed in February.
Yep.
So their 12-month or their 365-day clock would have reset when they actually took title to that property. But there are some exceptions, and I can read some.
Do you guys get the nuance? So you don't have we've had clients like that. You don't have anybody like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that the takeaway for agents is that you don't have to. This is a little complex-ish, but just if you've got a client who is buying and selling now, or has bought and now is selling, and you just bought their property with them and now they're selling again within the year, just put your antenna up and make sure they speak to their accountant, right? Because it's the particular transaction paired with their particular tax situation as well. But to your example, there are some exceptions. This is a little wordy because it's from the CRA website, so I'm going to paraphrase a bit. But the exceptions, would be something like life-changing circumstances. So the death of the person or a person related to the vendor, let's call them. The CRA calls them a taxpayer, but I'll call them a vendor. A related person joining the vendor's household, or the vendor having to move in with someone else, like having to move in with someone to be a caregiver, or the birth of a child, that sort of thing. So to your example, the breakdown of a marriage or common law partnership, a threat to personal safety, such as domestic violence, serious disability or illness, termination of a job, relocation of a job, but I believe you have to be relocated, further than 40 kilometers from your current employment or home. Bankruptcy and destruction of property, such as a natural or man-made disaster. So there are exceptions that will get people out of that deemed sort of flipping rule, but not everyone will qualify.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but just put your antenna up when you hear these things. This deemed flipping rule also applies if you've acquired an interest in the property, so it will apply to, if you haven't final closed on your new build condo yet and you're trying to assign it. Okay, so it also applies there. And then, of course, once you final close on it, your 12-month clock starts to run again. And so on assignments, I just always say they're hairy, they're wild and wacky things. You should not let your assignor or your assignee firm up on that contract without having lawyer review. There's just way too much liability for your clients, and your butts are on the line. There's, three HST things to consider. There's, the capital gains versus the business income. You just really want to have a pair of lawyer's eyes on that, before they firm up.
So the assignment, it's an anti-flip.
Yes.
So the entire lift is business. The entire lift is business income. Okay. But people are in a bind, so they need to get out, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.